Welcome back to Fluent English, the podcast. I'm Giorgia. Think in English.
And I'm Willem R. Today's episode is really exciting.
Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're with us, you're looking for that fast and comprehensive path to essential knowledge. We take a whole stack of sources, articles, research, and we just cut right through the noise. And today's deep dive is, well, it's intensely personal for a lot of you. It's for anyone who has ever felt that agonizing wall just slam down right when you needed to speak English. I mean, you've studied, right? You've memorized the flashcards, you've mastered the grammar, you have the knowledge. But then the moment comes in a meeting, maybe with a new friend, and your mouth just stays shut. Or the words come out slow and, unnatural. So we are tackling a question that traps millions of learners in what you could call intermediate purgatory. Why do some people just absorb English and get fluent in a year or two, while others, equally smart, equally diligent, they struggle for 5, 10, even 15 years and never quite break through?
It's a huge question. And if you follow the conventional wisdom, the answer would be, better grammar books or more memorization or maybe just raw talent. But our deep dive into the psychology here reveals something pretty surprising. The secret to that kind of rapid, sustained fluency, it's not your vocabulary size.
Okay.
It's not your grammar knowledge. It's not some innate talent you were born with.
So if it's not any of those traditional things we measure, what is it? What's the one thing that separates the fluent speaker from the person who's always, hesitating?
It's the mindset.
The mindset.
It's all mindset. We're talking about a total psychological reorganization. English fluency, it doesn't start in your mouth. It starts in your mind. So this is a deep dive into that inner world, the landscape inside your brain where English either becomes completely natural, a vehicle for your thoughts, or it just stays a constant, tiring struggle.
Wow. So our mission today is, it sounds like it's much more profound than just study techniques. It's motivational. It's about self-identity.
Precisely. This deep dive is not about learning English. You've probably done plenty of that. This is about becoming the kind of person who learns English effortlessly, naturally, joyfully even. Our goal today is to actively build what the sources call the English mindset, a mental state that makes fluency, well, inevitable.
Okay, let's unpack that. That's a huge concept. When most people hear mindset, they probably jump to this impossible idea like, I have to think in English 24/7.
Right, which is exhausting.
Yeah. So we need to really define what the sources mean by an English mindset, because it sounds like it's more about permission and environment than just constant effort.
That's a vital distinction. The English mindset isn't about that kind of exhausting perpetual immersion. It's about creating a psychological environment, a mental identity, where English can actually grow naturally.
Without being choked by fear.
Exactly. Without being choked by fear or pressure. It's a complete shift in your internal dialogue. You're moving from being a judge to being a coach.
That internal dialogue is kind of like the operating system, isn't it? It dictates everything, whether you step forward to practice or just step back.
It's everything.
So let's get specific. The source material lays out two really different dialogues. They illustrate this perfectly. Stagnation versus growth.
Yes. We have to contrast the learner mindset with the English mindset. So the learner mindset, this is where most people are stuck. It's defined by pressure, self-criticism, avoidance. Its inner voice is all about the threat of failure. It's a nagging voice. I need to remember all these words, and then I must avoid mistakes. And then the really crippling one, what if I sound silly?
And when your brain perceives that threat and sounding wrong is a huge social threat, it freezes.
Right.
That's the freeze and fight, play, or freeze. In language, that's just silence.
Complete silence.
Yeah.
Or you get stuck in that exhausting mental translation loop.
Yeah.
You're using all your brain power to manage anxiety instead of just speaking.
So how does the English mindset flip that?
It reverses it completely.
Yeah.
It replaces pressure with a focus on growth and action. The inner dialogue shifts to something like, I am a person who grows in English every single day.
I like that.
And it swaps avoidance for acceptance.
Yeah.
I communicate, even if it's imperfect, because that's the whole point.
And the biggest change, I think, is how it reframes mistakes. The learner mindset sees a mistake as proof you're failing, but the English mindset, it sees mistakes as data.
Absolutely. The affirmation is so powerful. It's mistakes are proof that I'm training my brain. They're data points showing me where to focus next. This is the engine. If a mistake is just evidence of effort, the whole emotional experience changes from dread to, experimentation.
Okay, so this reframing, it creates a massive cognitive shift. We're moving from one state to another. What are those key shifts?
It's radical. It's in 3 areas.
Yeah.
First, you shift from fear to flow. Fear makes you hesitate. It breaks the rhythm of a conversation. Flow is that state where you're in it. You're operating, not second-guessing.
And that leads to the second shift, right? From pressure to practice. Because if you're constantly grading yourself, every conversation is a high-stakes performance. It's terrifying.
And it makes you avoid practice. But if every chat is just low-stakes practice, like a few reps at the gym, you're free to try things. You experiment with words. You get the volume you need for fluency.
And the final one,
Yeah.
this feels like it's about identity. You move from studying English to living English.
This is the integration. When you're living it, it's not some task you have to schedule. It's just part of your day.
Right.
It's how you think about your errands, your observations. It's simply how you operate.
So to keep this mental ecosystem going, the source identifies 3 core components, 3 pillars that hold the whole thing up.
Yes. Confidence, curiosity, and consistency.
Yeah.
And you have to actively nurture them.
Let's talk about confidence, because that feels so mysterious, right? How do you define it for someone who's really struggling right now?
It's a very pragmatic kind of confidence. It's the concrete belief that your imperfect communication is valuable right now, today. It's the permission slip you write yourself to start speaking now, not waiting for some future perfect version of yourself.
And curiosity. That must be the fuel for the journey.
It's the engine. The learner mindset is obsessed with what it doesn't know, which leads to shame. The English mindset is just curious. Instead of, I should know that word, it's, I wonder how I could describe that. Curiosity turns it into a game, a scavenger hunt. The brain loves that.
And finally, consistency. That's the discipline that keeps it all going.
Right, but if English is part of your identity, which we'll get to, consistency stops being about willpower. It just becomes what you do. It's who you are. And that daily, tiny repetition, that's what physically rewires your brain.
Okay, here's where the rubber meets the road. Before we can build this new mindset, we have to destroy this saboteur.
The internal saboteurs, yes.
Our sources name 3 specific enemies that block fluency: perfectionism, the translation habit, and negative identity.
And they work together in this awful, vicious cycle. Perfectionism tells you to be quiet. The translation habit makes sure that if you do speak, it's slow and weird.
And then negative identity makes you feel terrible about the whole thing.
So next time, you just stay silent.
Let's start with perfectionism. The source calls it the silence trap.
It's so insidious. It pretends it's about quality. It's that voice that whispers, if you can't say it perfectly, don't say it at all. But here's the truth, and it's so counterintuitive. Perfection doesn't lead to fluency. Fluency leads to perfection.
You have to build the skill through practice. It's like learning to drive a car, right? You wouldn't wait until you could do a perfect parallel park in a simulator before you even touch the steering wheel.
Of course not. You'd never get on the road.
Yeah.
We start by grinding the gears, stalling the engine, making clumsy turns. Speaking is a motor skill, too. It involves your mouth, your breath, your brain, all coordinated.
So when that perfectionist enemy makes you wait, you're actually preventing the physical practice you need. You're starving your brain. The silence trap keeps you paralyzed.
Exactly. You have to be willing to sound like a beginner today to be fluent tomorrow. That's the price of admission for any skill.
Okay. Enemy number 2, the translation habit. This is the one that forces that slowness, that inefficiency.
This is the mandatory middleman in your brain. The source lays out the loop so clearly. Think in your native language, let's say Hindi. Then convert the whole sentence structure to English. And then finally, you speak.
It's exhausting just hearing it. That's 3 steps for every single sentence. And you're trying to do that while listening to someone who's operating at step 0. You're always behind.
And it prevents your brain from making the right connections. You're connecting the English word to the Hindi word, not to the actual idea of a chair. The native language pathway stays the superhighway, and the English path is just a little dirt road.
So the goal of the training has to be about bypassing that middleman, teaching yourself how to think in English, not just what the words are.
We have to decommission that slow pathway. Build a new high-speed neural highway that goes directly from concept to English. Until that's built, your brain will always take the old, slow route.
And the third enemy, negative identity. This one feels like the most corrosive, the self-fulfilling prophecy.
This is where it gets really emotional. When you have negative self-talk, you're basically sending a signal to your brain that says, hey, stop sending resources here. This is impossible for us.
You internalize the belief that you're bad at English.
And your brain cooperates. It starts looking for evidence to prove you right. It magnifies your mistakes, ignores your successes, and tells you to avoid taking risks.
We see those beliefs everywhere in the sources. Things like, I'm just terrible at English, or the really bad one, the comparison. Everyone else speaks better, so I should just be quiet.
These are identity statements, and you literally fulfill the prophecy you've created for yourself.
So defeating these enemies is an active process. You have to fight back.
Consciously. Every time that inner critic says, you're bad at this, you have to counter it. No, I'm a person who is growing in English every single day. You have to actively pull out those weeds so the new mindset has room to grow.
Okay, so we've cleared the ground. Now we build the foundation. And the sources all come back to this one core truth. You cannot speak like a fluent person until you start seeing yourself as one.
This is the single most important maneuver. It's not just about skills, it's about identity. And when you shift your identity, it kicks off a chain reaction that makes everything else so much easier.
Let's detail that chain reaction because that's powerful.
The process is, identity shapes your habits, habits build your skills, and skills create your fluency. So if your identity is, I struggle with English, your habits will be avoidance and hesitation.
Your skills stagnate. Fluency stays a dream.
But the moment you declare, I am a capable bilingual person, your habits shift. You start practicing with confidence. You explore. Your skills accelerate. And fluency just becomes the inevitable outcome.
So it's the difference between an internal monologue that says, I speak my native language, and English is this extra thing I do, versus
one that says, I am a bilingual person. English is part of who I am. It's a vehicle for my expression. You're elevating it from a school subject to a core part of your identity.
Okay, but let me push back a little here. This is where people might get stuck. If you can only say simple, hesitant sentences, doesn't it feel fake? To declare, I am a bilingual person, how do you make that feel genuine?
That's a vital question. Absolutely vital. The key is to understand that identity is built on potential and action, not just on your current level of perfection. When you declare, I am a bilingual person, you're not describing your current output. You're defining your future path and your commitment. Think about an athlete in training. They might not win a race today, but their identity is, I am a runner, not I sometimes run. The identity validates the daily work. So for you, saying I am bilingual means I'm committed to this process and
I see. So it's a commitment to the process, not a lie about the present. And that single identity change, I study English versus I am bilingual, it changes your behavior.
dramatically. If English is an extra, a mistake is embarrassing. If you're a bilingual person, a mistake is just part of getting better. You take more risks, you're more curious. Self-expression becomes the goal.
It's like moving from being a tourist in the language to being a citizen of the language.
That's the perfect analogy. It's about mental ownership. You belong in the world of English. You're not an outsider waiting for permission. You are growing inside that world every single day. That sense of belonging is the ultimate defense against frustration.
We've got the psychology, we've got the identity. Now, what are the tactical daily steps to actually rewire the brain? The sources seem to point to simple rules over complex techniques.
Simplicity is everything for consistency. The core strategy is what we can call the 1% rule, and it makes the goal achievable, like right now.
The rule being, whatever you do 1% of it in English every day, just microdosing the language into your life.
And this is so powerful because it taps into how the brain actually learns. Your brain builds strong pathways through repetition in context. A word on a flashcard is weak. Using that word while you're actually doing something, that creates a high-speed link.
And the easiest place to start that repetition is by talking to yourself. Low pressure, high volume practice.
Exactly. Start by narrating what you're doing. In English, I'm turning off the light. You are literally training your brain to connect the physical concept directly to the English phrase, completely bypassing your native language.
Okay, so the sources give 4 specific, structured exercises to make this training systematic.
Yes. The first is micro self-talk. This is the foundation.
What are the rules for this one?
It has to be short. 5 to 10-second sentences about the present moment. Simple, real, not abstract. You're not contemplating philosophy, you're just narrating reality. The water is boiling, I need to put on my shoes, I forgot to send that email.
So if I'm mentally making my grocery list, I should force myself to do it in short English sentences.
Precisely. You're building the habit of using English for real-life utility. The second exercise is English reaction training.
This sounds more spontaneous, more emotional.
It's about that instant gut reaction. You see something, a beautiful sunset, annoying traffic, and you react immediately in English. Oh, that's beautiful. This is so annoying. I can't believe that. This is vital because it connects your emotions directly to English phrases.
The third one is the 5-minute English zone. This is like a mini immersion challenge.
A high-intensity burst. You set a timer for 5 minutes, and for that time, all your thoughts, internal and external, have to be in English. The main rule is flow over correctness. If you can't find a word, you have to try to describe it in English. No cheating.
And what if I'm in a silent office? Can't talk out loud.
It works perfectly in silence. The commitment is to your internal monologue. You are forcing your brain to think the description in English. It's a mental endurance drill.
Okay, and the last one, story extension. This sounds a bit more advanced.
It is. It moves you beyond the simple present tense. You see a small event, maybe two people arguing on the street, and you actively extend the story in your mind.
So not just they are arguing.
Right. You build a narrative. They must have disagreed about something. Maybe they will make up later. If you had listened earlier, this wouldn't be happening.
Wow. Okay, so you're practicing really complex grammar modals, conditionals, but not from a textbook. You're doing it through spontaneous imagination.
Exactly. You're using your brain's natural storytelling ability to train conversational fluency. These 4 exercises, they aren't grammar drills. They're cognitive restructuring tools. They literally rewire your brain to choose English first.
We've talked about speaking English, but the real goal is to feel English, right? Native speakers don't think about rules, they just feel the rhythm, the nuance. How do we adopt that mindset?
We have to shift our priorities away from textbook correctness and toward flow and connection. The source gives 4 pillars for this kind of native-like thinking.
Okay, pillar number 1, curiosity over accuracy.
This is the direct antidote to perfectionism. The goal isn't to be correct. The goal is to explore. You have to actively try new phrases, idioms you're not sure about. The experience of trying, even if you get a confused look, is so much more valuable for learning than staying silent.
When you prioritize accuracy, you play it safe, you stay small. Curiosity forces you to expand.
And pillar 2 is flow over structure. This means you just have to let the language move. If you make a small mistake and you stop the whole conversation to mentally correct it, you're reinforcing the idea that mistakes are catastrophes. Fluency isn't being mistake-free, it's being mistake-resilient. You keep the flow going. You prioritize the message. The mistakes are just glitches, not system failures. This is so critical for real-time conversation.
That makes so much sense. A little hesitation to fix a word is way more disruptive than just getting the word slightly wrong and moving on.
It's the momentum. That's the real marker of fluency. Now, the third pillar, and this is where that emotional, motivational piece really comes in, is emotion over grammar.
Right. This gets at that robotic, flat-sounding English you sometimes hear from learners who are very book smart. Why is emotion so important?
Learners focus so much on the words that they strip all the feeling out of it. But native English is full of emotion, surprise, joy, frustration. When a native speaker says, "Are you serious?" the meaning isn't just in the words.
It's in the tone, the pitch, the emphasis on the word serious.
Exactly. If a learner says that same phrase with a flat, neutral tone, it doesn't land. It sounds like they're reading a script. But when you force yourself to speak with genuine emotion, 2 amazing things happen. First, your tone becomes natural. And second, your rhythm and inflection become natural. If you're excited, the words, "I can't wait," will just come out fast and high-pitched. You don't have to think about it. Emotion brings the language to life. It connects your internal state directly to the words.
That's a huge insight. Use your feelings to guide your cadence, not your conscious mind. And the final pillar, communication over perfection, brings it all home.
This is it. The goal is to connect, to share an idea, to be part of the conversation, not to impress someone with a flawless performance. If you got your message across, even with a clunky phrase, you succeeded.
We have a psychology, we have the principles. No, we need a plan, a daily routine. How do we operationalize this mindset engineering?
You need a structure. It removes the guesswork. We're going to integrate tiny, targeted bursts of English throughout the day.
Okay, let's start with the morning. 5 minutes. What's the plan?
The morning segment is all about priming and positive self-talk. First thing when you wake up before the day gets crazy, you use English for planning. Ask yourself simple questions. What's my plan today? What am I excited about? These sentences prime your brain. You're forcing it to access the English you need for your immediate reality. It sets a positive, active tone.
So it's like a little injection of the English mindset before the world comes at you. What about the afternoon?
The afternoon is a quick 3-minute burst of pure reaction practice. This is where you do that reaction training we talked about. during a coffee break, waiting for the elevator. For 3 minutes, you just describe whatever you see or think in a simple English sentence. Silently, if you have to. That email looks long. The coffee is finally ready. It forces your brain to switch modes, reinforcing that direct concept to English pathway.
Okay, and then the evening. 5 minutes for that.
The evening segment is for absorption and contextual immersion. This is your passive input. A short YouTube clip, a podcast segment, a page of a story. The 5-minute limit is crucial. It prevents you from getting overwhelmed. The goal is just to let the rhythm and natural phrasing wash over you. You're soaking in the data. Your brain needs to start sensing the language, not just calculating it.
And finally, the night. 3 minutes. This feels important.
It is. This is for consolidation and reflection. This is what locks in the learning. Before you sleep, you actively retrieve what you encountered. Ask yourself, in English, what did I learn today? What new word did I notice? This retrieval practice solidifies the memory. It gives you a sense of progress, and it reinforces that identity. I am a person who grew in English today.
When you add that up, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 5, 3, that's only 16 minutes a day. That is so achievable.
That's the power of it. We're not aiming for some heroic, intense study session. We're aiming for persistence. That cumulative power of small, consistent steps is what creates the massive transformation. English stops being a project you work on and just becomes part of who you are.
What an incredible deep dive into the psychology of this. If we just recap the central message, it's that your English will change the moment your mindset changes. You don't need perfect grammar. You need that internal shift.
It all comes down to one essential belief. An affirmation you have to internalize. And that belief is, I can think, feel, and express myself in English. That one statement gives you permission. It defeats that negative identity. It fuels your curiosity.
That's your permission slip to just operate freely in the language. And the final implication of all this, once you adopt this mindset, English stops being a subject. It becomes part of your identity.
And that new identity has implications way beyond just conversation. Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to take away. If English truly becomes part of your identity, if you become that bilingual person, how will that new, expanded version of you change the big choices in your life, your career path, your willingness to travel, your long-term goals? The language isn't the final destination. The language is the key that unlocks a much larger, richer life.
That is an incredibly powerful way to look at it. Thank you so much for guiding us through all of this today. We really hope this deep dive has given all of you not just exercises, but that essential mindset shift to approach English with confidence starting right now. If you found this valuable, and we hope you did, please take a moment to hit that like button, subscribe to the deep dive, and share this with anyone you know who could use this motivational and actionable approach. We'll see you next time.